we're live. We're back for the ITAM Kitchen. You know, it's awesome to have these sessions because the collaboration we have is just amazing. So welcome back to the ITAM Kitchen, the place where we talk about topics that no one else wants to talk about, and we're not afraid of digging into them. And it's about and I welcome everyone who's new. If you're new to the ITAM Kitchen, welcome. If you're new to the industry, welcome. If you want to join the industry, come on. I've been doing it for 30 years. For those that don't know me, my name's Bill, Mr. Bill, as they know me in the industry. And I'm one of those recovering IT practitioners. That's what I put myself as, right? I was a user support technician. And just going away, just helping up people. And I used to, for those that know Bell South Cellular, I'm one of those guys, right? So I'm an old Bell South Cellular guy. Yeah.
Totally forgot about that portion of the show.
Yeah. And so I was one of those guys. And then I got the email because we'd outsourced to Vanstar. I was part of that outsourcing agreement. And my boss said, now we need to know everything you're doing because we're about to outsource. Like, okay, my job's changing. I supported like 4 different locations at that point. When I was finished, I was supporting I had team members, there was 5 of us. We were to 14. It's like, I had to make sure we were on the same page. And I said, I'm ready for something new. And I started getting asset management. And from there, the journey continued. And it's literally 30 years later, having that journey. I'm not bored. Anybody that says they're bored in this industry, I don't know what you're missing. You're missing the spark somewhere. Just ask any of us because it's never boring. It's always a lot of fun. And it's all about how you portray it. But my point is now I've gone live and now we're doing ITAM Kitchen. We're getting some great participants as well, like Patrick and Deanna here. And today our topic is somehow we're going to make this work fluidly. We'll just say even though I'm a technologist, we all have technology issues, but being able to talk business cases. Not an easy topic, especially in the technical weeds. It took me years to figure it out. Oh, business case is easy to write. I always told that. It's like, and how do you do it? Right? And that's what we're talking about. But real quick, from an introduction perspective, I'm going to let Patrick and Deanna introduce themselves, and then we'll dig right into the topic because we know once we get started, we're going to have a lot of fun. And this time, we're not going to talk about ice fishing like we were just a second ago.
All right, Deanna, you can go ahead. I'm gonna step back on the ice fishing one.
Hi, I am Deanna Hennigar. I have also been in IT for over 30 years, but the last 11, 12 of them have been focused strictly on ITAM. And before we had all this asset management, I realized last night that we had a little label called IMACT, IMACT, which is pretty much asset management from the service management side, not the asset management.
All right. Patrick Duffy, been around probably almost as long as Bill. We've traveled parallel paths for what seems to be forever. I am not the technical guy. I got into this completely by accident. My key was organization and putting things in order and getting things accounted for and tracking, back in the days of widgets and counting those. And we're way past just counting widgets now. I've functioned and operated within the IT space just because I can be the liaison between the technical folks, the business folks, and I can connect all of those dots and drive a program. And here I am 20 some odd years later and, still trying to do it. And to Bill's point, it's never dull. And if it gets dull, just give it a few minutes and actually go look for something and your world will turn over. It
always morphs.
Yeah, there's going to be something. There's going to be something.
It always morphs. And from that, being able to have that dialogue, right? And that's why the topic today. And by the way, if there's any questions, dialogue along the way, let me put something in chat. Say where you're from in the chat. Make sure you put it out there. If you have friends that need to be part of this, forward this on to them as far as the live video, if you're seeing that as well. Because I'm currently streaming on LinkedIn as well as YouTube. It's intended for YouTube, but right now we're trying to as well get a little bit of LinkedIn activity happening just to kind of keep us moving. Well, do it long term? I don't know. I'm giving it a shot because keep in mind, we've been doing this now for 2 weeks, right? A lot of great dialogue, a lot of great expertise coming in, a lot of great insights happening. We did this as a trial run, as far as the ITAM kitchen. Totally a trial run, make it happen, etc. And I'm finding out the vibe is there, the fun is there, which we're trying to bring fun. We're bringing fun. We're not trying. We're actually doing it. We're bringing fun back into ITAM as far as topics, as well as making it educational, right? Because when you think about these topics, they're not easy. And did we learn this stuff overnight? Oh, heck no. Was this something we learned in class? Yeah, the class of life. The class of life, right? And being able to say, okay, how do we move forward? And that's what we really enjoy about this, is because we're having the collaboration. For example, Patrick, Deanna, and I, we said we're going to talk on this topic. There's very little prep we had for this discussion outside, saying, okay, let's make sure our microphones work. The videos are working, right? Yeah, exactly.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
I hear you great.
Yeah, there we go.
We'll have to find that mute button later, but that's okay. That probably goes for me too. But again, we're having fun. We're having a blast. And what you're seeing here, we're all friends. Now, I'm not saying if you have a topic you want to speak on, et cetera, let's DM me online and it's like, okay, let's get you on here, because I want you to have visibility as well. Because the one thing I learned in this industry, and I've been through it, the same thing. A lot of people like to squash other people, is the best way to put it, right? And don't let you talk. Don't just won't listen, right? And if you don't know, also I created a community a couple of years ago called the IT Management Co-op, and the purpose behind it is really about allowing you to have a voice, not just educate. Education is part of it, but also have a voice, being able to help present and do webinars, things like that, and that's key, right? This is not about, okay, who can you squash? This is about who can communicate. And we all have different opinions, and be very accepting of that. I just want to put that out there, because right now we have the world, I'm not just going to say just ITAM, the world is very dog eat dog. And sometimes people say, well, you have to be rigid. That's the only way ITAM is going to work. I'll be honest, you put in ITAM as a rigid environment, it'll never be used. Yeah. It just won't. Because you can't run ITAM like that. You have to be adjustable, understandable, et cetera. There's a framework you can put in place that's great, but how you do all the procedures, I can tell you for a fact on my side, for all the customers I've ever worked with or advised, et cetera, everybody's different. Why is that? It's because you manage your assets differently because of the financials. Business need, what you're managing, how you manage it, et cetera, is all different. Hence why we're going down the business case today, because the business case is similar. We'll put a framework in place, but what we're going to fill in the blanks is also going to be very aligned to where that environment is, who you're talking to, a different audience. Maybe you need a couple different business cases depending upon stakeholders as well as executive. We're not going to get into everything because we only have 60 minutes, but I also want to come back to the core. We're all looking at things differently, and the whole idea behind ITAM Kitchens is we're collaborating and coming together. Because that's, okay, you get a little heart, or however you do that. I can't do it. My fingers aren't that coordinated. It's not the love thing part of it, but we were very appreciative of what we're doing, how we contribute.
The challenge.
That's the core here, right? Yep. So I just want to put that little nugget out there. Patrick, Deanna, if you want to get that, say more to that while I'm bringing up my PowerPoint for our discussion here, go for it.
One of the things I found is that even though we have manager buy-in, depending on how dug in your different departments are, they will drag your transfer as much as they can. They will always cancel meetings, even though they're with the outside vendor. So buy-in sometimes is a little bit more than just the management saying we're going to do this.
No, you're absolutely right. It's because everyone has their own, I'll use the word agenda.
Yep.
And that's not being a negative, but they have an agenda on what they're trying to get across.
Yes.
And as far as what they want to perform, it could be their goals, objectives, et cetera. And we can talk about all the alignment. That alignment can be a different discussion entirely. And sometimes the business case will help with that. But when you talk about, when you give the buy-in, you have to make sure you're considering those different aspects. You can't just say, okay, here's the business case, the law, and et cetera. We'll just put it this way. If you had something given to you as the law and that's the way it is, would you be willing to accept it with no questions?
No.
Yeah, you got laws.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that agenda is based on that person's or that group of persons' understanding of what they think ITAM is, right? Despite the fact that every company needs the program, needs the capability, there's how it's understood and what it's thought to be is probably different on many different levels, right? We spent last week on the AMDB, CMDB piece, right? That's a good example. And I think that the business case, and as we go about this, has to take into account what the organization thinks it is. And I don't want to say that the business case is also an opportunity to maybe take some corrective direction, but I think it's the opportunity to really put a definition out there that is encompassing to everything, not only us as professionals, but taking into account what the organization might think of it, or the leaders of that organization might think of it, and then maybe start getting it on a corrective path, so to speak. So, I hate to use the word agile, but if to your point, Bill, we can't be hardcore stringent saying that this is the way it's going to be, because every organization is different. No process from one organization is going to work to the next, and you have to come up with a plan to build it out the right way, and it starts with the business case.
Absolutely. So you've seen me focus a little bit. I've been here on the screen on purpose. So as we drive into this, I have a little bit of a thing to start from, and we'll adjust this. Again, it's kind of brainstorming. Like I said, I didn't have the entire technology set up I want to today, so we're adjusting. That's what we do in life. That's what we do as asset management, right? We adjust, adapt, and overcome. So as hopefully you can see here on the screen, I have a little bit of a so I'll put this as the business case agenda. So what comes to mind, just out of the, and I'm open for thoughts on this too. You want to keep the business case as simple as possible, or when you show it, you want to keep it simple. You're going to be advised, believe it or not, with the business case when you review it to say, I need X, Y, and Z. And that's something to keep in mind. I had to learn that so I did about 25 years of consulting prior to going to pre-sales. But when I went to pre-sales, I was doing this at Flexera. I was writing business cases. That was my core purpose in life, business cases. Didn't really touch this technology outside of understanding it. I mean, yeah, I got into it, understood it, but really it was kind of understand the customer's needs, wants, and desires, right? But when I did that, what made my role it made it very educational, informative to me, but it was also informative to the customer. Because when I listened to how they look and how they run their business and what their needs are for their leadership, as well as alignment internally and their goals and objectives, right? That's what helped us drive the agenda every time. And we sold some pretty big deals. I'm talking about multiple millions of dollars for solutions when it did that. Don't be shy. It's expensive. When we're talking about hardware and software asset management, it can be very expensive, right? But let's start with the core agenda. And from here, as you see here, Patrick, Deanna, what are some of your thoughts you've seen here? Good, bad, different, something else to inject? Because I'm sure something's missing. This is kind of Mr. Bill just kind of doing a quick brain dump here to start our conversation.
Yeah, I think the first one that jumps out is pains, right? Yeah. I think organizations, we might want to, I call it current state, right? We go in there, we're doing an assessment, right? It's going to tell us where we're at today. That would be the first one for me, right? Where are we at? Every time you go into an organization, you can't really walk in to an organization net new with already having your business case, right? You've got to go in there and you've got to do some assessment, which is for me the current state. And I think that assessment obviously sets the stage for everything else that we've got going on here, because it's definitely going to identify, or should identify, the pains, and then again those opportunities that you're talking about right there. So that would be the first one. I don't know, Deanna, if you've got anything to throw in there or add.
No, I agree with the pain points. The other one, which one is leaking the most? Because you may have multiple pain points, and you need to find out which one either the company or governance needs to fix first. You know, put an order to your potential solution options.
Okay, so we can put that down here.
Yeah, prioritize. Yep. Needs analysis. Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. And Cindy was putting in there that we missed cost and audit failures. We never have that. I don't know what you're talking about, Cindy. That never happens, right? Absolutely does. So yeah, we'll make sure. I think that's a great example. It could be.
And speaking about audits, I did notice last week somebody said, well, our company was never audited. Well, they were never externally audited. You need to audit your own company internally to see if they're matching with your policies and procedures.
And to that, in that point, if you're not doing that, there's good and bad to that, right? On one side, okay, we've never been audited. On the other side, I'm gonna hit from the sales. I'm gonna put on the sales hat for a moment. That's like, huh. So that means your vendors are saying thank you for all the extra money you're spending on it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
It's all about how you look and phrase it. I'm not trying to be negative, but I'm used to being hard sales, and when you get around Flexera folks, you're doing hard sales, right? It's not negative. It's just the strategy they have. So when you look at it, you have to look at it like that. And again, that's not digging. I had a great education there and loved it, and there's some great people there. But you're doing hard sales. So when you're prepared for that as a practitioner, we're typically not. Because walking that role, I was not ready for that whatsoever. But I had to be, because that's how customers were being hit, right? With that type of dialogue. And that's what we're trying to educate you here, is like, be prepared for that. That hard discussion. There's no soft stuff on this. You've got to sometimes just call it out. So I love the audit failures. That I think penalties, costs. Actually, I'll throw it there too.
Yep.
But is there something going back to the core agenda though? Is there something on the core agenda that's overlooked? Do you guys see anything here? Outside of that, is it pretty good for us trying to dig into the bullet points under each one of them, as you just saw me do with the current state?
I think with the potential solution options,
yep.
Do we want to roll in there, and it comes out of current state. I don't know if we want to roll this in there, but current state, what I'm assuming should, I'm not going to say assume, should include what the current tool sets are in place. What tools are being used at that stage? Because that's going to definitely impact potential, the solutions going forward. Spreadsheets versus an asset management tool. There's options there, right, that have to be considered. So when we're talking about in that current state, right, we're looking at tools. We're looking at, there's processes and everything else that goes in there. So we want to break this down later. But the top, going back to the first slide there, or second slide there, Bill, let's look at what else we have laid out there. Solutions, outcomes, project, program, costs. I think timelines might be something that we need to be, that has to be a part of this somewhere. And maybe that's in the recommendation. I don't know where that would be, but I think timelines has to be outlined.
Well, there is. So timeline, we'll talk about outcomes and depletion, the potential solution for the duration, right? So I put that towards that. I think Robert brought up a great point, is risk. We do need to identify the risk as well.
Yep.
And the risk could be up front as well as in our solutions to minimize it. Does that make sense?
How about how this ITAM program is going to align with overall organizational goals, strategic corporate goals?
Like it. Earn initiatives. You have quickly this morphs, and this is literally where 5 to 10 minutes into the conversation, you're seeing how we're crafting the business case. There's a lot to this, right? And
we're actually only 7 minutes into this. So
okay.
I was looking at the clock because I wanted to see how long it took us to really get going on this. Yeah. So we've only been talking actually in it for 7 minutes now. So
which is great.
Yeah.
But you look and see where we are so far, right?
Mm-hmm.
But my point is, and I want to continue brainstorming just the way we are. But I'm gonna kind of tell you kind of where we're going to end up. We have to go through all of this and understand what we have here. This absolutely has to go through because we have to think about how we're going to craft the message, et cetera, right? But keep in mind, when it's all said and done, everything we're writing, all of it, primarily 90% of them are backup slides. 90%, maybe 95%, maybe 97%. They're all backup slides, but for you to get to a business case and say, I need for an executive to see this within 5 slides, you've got to go through all of this. There's the magic. That's the secret sauce, right? That's the additional part. So I want to continue brainstorming. This is great. This is awesome. This is exactly what I want to do. But I also want to kind of say, okay, I just gave you like the last few chapters in the book, right? I want to tell you kind of where we're headed. But to get there, we have to go along this journey. You cannot shortchange it. I just want to put that out there. And sometimes you get other people to help you too. But I just want to put that little nugget out there. Did you guys want to add any more to that?
I think I'm okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I'm okay.
Okay. Anything else in the current state? Risk, initiative, tools.
People. Do we need it? We need to look at people.
People's a good idea.
Why do we need people? Come on, AI is going to take care of all that. Yeah, I did the mic drop.
I forgot. My bad.
Okay, current people.
We are going to have a topic on that within this probably next week. I'm shooting for Monday on that one. If anybody wants to be part of the AI topic, AI and asset management, we're totally all over it. Just chime up now. And to me, if we have 7 people online talk about it, more the merrier, because I just want to have an open discussion about it. It's going to be a blast. I'm sorry. Deanna, you said something? My bad.
No, I was agreeing. Mine is more for later on when we get into projects such as what happens when we decide to change platforms.
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely right. Cost, penalties, tools, initiatives. If we forget something, we can always come back to it. That's the nice part of having this electronic versus I'm writing it down on a piece of paper. We can put that. I'm looking on time and exercise. Absolutely. And to your point, it might require a workshop, and we can talk about that. We'll put that
training
within
and education. Yeah, that's later though.
Trained. I'll say staffing. I'll say readiness.
Okay.
Which some of this, again, we may only know for current state. We might only know the high level, because when it comes to readiness, we may not know because we're just trying to get buy-in to talk to the stakeholders, right? And talk with leadership. Okay, we're gonna get ITAM. We've been trying to do it. We've failed 5 times in 5 years. Yep. We're gonna fix it. How are we gonna fix it, right? Now we're talking, right? That's not uncommon. And if you think it is uncommon, well, for some organizations, they do asset management pretty well. I'm not saying otherwise. For everybody else, even the ones that do it really well, we'll just say they sometimes need a redo.
Yep.
Because, okay, and I'll give examples. I had one really, really well, right? Years ago, and that system was online for almost 11, 12 years. And then they changed a new technology, threw everything out. And they started from scratch, like, what? I felt bad because it was like my baby. I stayed with that project for like 11 months. But sometimes the redo is, you think, oh, the tool is going to fix everything because it was oversold, right? The tool's going to fix it. And they realize how much they had to create their own tools again. Yeah. You never know. Anyways, current state, I can go on lots of tangents. Let's go to potential solutions, right?
And going back to that conversation real quick there, right? We're talking about throwing out let's be realistic. There are still some organizations out there that aren't doing this at all.
Right.
It baffles me. It baffles me 20, being into this as long as I have, that companies are still not doing this, but it's a reality. It's out there. There are companies out there who have never had an official asset management program.
That's
So
true.
needs to be kept in mind when we're talking about this.
They're still trying to figure out how to receive assets.
Yeah, well, Amazon will do it for you.
Exactly. Amazon, Dell, HP.
Yeah.
Okay, potential solutions. I'm having a blast. I don't know if you can tell or not. Okay, so potential solutions, we can hit a couple different ways. I think the assessment, we can throw something like that in there to get some more clarity. Action, right? A lot of customers today don't like the assessment/workshops. And what I found on that from experience is you're having that initial dialogue, just say, we're going to do a asset management alignment workshop, start something like that with the teams in the room, just to help educate them on asset management. It could be software asset management configuration, depending on what your topic is, that's fine. But help with the alignment discussion with your key stakeholders in the room and provide that as the assessment. As far as, because when you have that dialogue, people start talking, and all of a sudden I'll say the light bulb goes on. It's like, oh wow, we really do need this, right? You get that buy-in. That's how I found it works really well, because sometimes they don't want to have an outside organization do assessments because you're going to charge 10 to 20 to 30,000, if not more. Government entities are probably charging $100K for it. I'll be brutally honest, because they can. I don't say that tongue in cheek. That's reality. But you've got that from that part, right? What else do we want to throw in here? Technology solutions?
Yeah.
What else comes to mind?
I'm going to throw process in there.
Oh yeah.
The policy, it's all there.
Policy,
right?
process, and procedures.
Yeah.
The big 3 Ps.
Oh yeah.
And associated with all of that would be the governance.
Yep.
Now the procedures might be a little bit more into the weeds sometimes.
Yes.
When you think about that, that may happen during the project.
Right.
We talk about governance. Okay, things are going live here on the screen. You can pay a counselor $30K, but you can't pay them the awareness and exposure. Okay, I'm going to show that one. That's awesome. That's an awesome. You can pay me to be a counselor for $30K, or you can pay me to the awareness and exposure to assess what you fix and how. Well done, Robert. I love it. That's perfect. Yeah. That's a keeper.
The one before that is pretty spot on too. Ask them how they take bad news,
Yeah.
how they want the bad news.
How do they want it? Here's a silver platter.
So when you think about the people, also this could be stakeholders, peers, it could be team, right?
Well, and let's define stakeholders, right? Because stakeholders is all of those people. Stakeholders and people are the same thing. So it's the teams, it's the peers, it's the lines of business, it's the departments, it's everybody. As we know, there's a connection to everybody in the organization. Different connections, but connections nonetheless. It has to be taken into account.
Well, and as Robert says right here, right? He's getting a lot of credit today. There are order of operations for implementing tech and standing up programs. They mirror each other. Absolutely. You have to think about it, and you have to have the right mindset for that, for the organization. But I will also say there is a pros and cons to this. It depends also upon the organization, how big they are and how much they can take on.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you do this big program, the team's not able to do it. You need outside resources, right? You just need to call that out.
And the
And
layout of the organization, to your point, and size, right? If you've got a wide geographic footprint, right? You've got part and pack rim, and you've got stuff in South America, and you're in North America, right?
Mhm.
You know, there's no way you could successfully roll that out to the entire organization at the same time, right? So
Exactly.
Yeah, right.
keeping what that organizational footprint looks like, and how the company has done it in the past, because this is something else that you have to take into consideration. The organization has already dealt with that geographic footprint, so we need to make sure that as we're talking through this in the solution piece, we take it into account that says, okay, how have you guys done this type of rollout in the past? So just something else to think about.
Well, exactly. The other part that ties in with all this, I'll just say organizational alignment,
Ah,
Oh yeah.
right? And it kind of ties it all together, but this is also where we were talking about a moment ago, right? Asset management, as you look at, there's lots of different facets to it. And you have initiatives where here's what those key components are. You may say, well, I don't know them. You'll find out quickly when you talk to executives. They're going to say, this is going to work, this isn't going to work, because it's not going to help me with this bigger effort, right? And when you think about it and hear that, consume it. It's easy to say, get defensive, say, whoa, hold on, but I need all this. I hear you. You also need their buy-in, right?
yeah.
Because when you hear what they're focused on, you realize how asset management can help those initiatives, right?
Right.
And that's where it's like, oh, we can add you to the team. That's a much easier discussion than if you're trying to say, okay, I'm going to knock down this door and take it all over. I want the entire budget. Do you guys want to expand upon that? I know that's been the thing. And you learn that by School of Hard Knocks. That's not something you learn in class, right?
Yeah, I think it goes into value add, right? How can we help the organization? You know, you're gonna, if you can help and be a quick value add to somebody, you're gonna get a quicker buy-in. So aligning with those other projects, you know, as they're moving or coming in, if you can add a value to those, you're gonna be included more often.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. Because when you start looking at this, it actually kind of drives to your outcomes as well. And your outcomes is almost a mimic of this to a degree, as far as when it comes to all of this. Because here you're going to talk about, and I say potential solutions, you may be just working with one. It may just be one solution, and you've already selected, and say you have ServiceNow already internally. You know the company's going to go to ServiceNow. Okay, let's figure out how to make this work. Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. If that's where the organization started there, and you have that buy-in already there for a tool, run with it. That's the best way to put it, right? Don't say, okay, we have to go look at 14 others. Run with what you have, and if it's something inexpensive, start there and grow, right? Because that's something else is, I think you guys mentioned earlier, timeline. How long is it going to take you to get there? Also, maturity. I'll say organizational maturity. Now, this goes more towards outcomes. It's kind of outcome driven, so it kind of ties into that. But going that in place. Thank you, Cindy. That's an awesome point, and I appreciate you bringing it up. It totally was a brain fog on my side. Organizational change management.
Mm-hmm.
Organizational change management. Yeah, it's just because I'm talking too much, I didn't even think about it, right? It's everyone says, oh, we don't know, we can do it ourselves, we have a team to deal with that, etc. And you find out internally they're overwhelmed. They all are. I've not known an organization that's not been overwhelmed with their OCM team. But we need external people to get in there, right? Yeah, it's interesting how to put it in place. And you have your guiding principles. Put this back up here. I'll put guiding principles back in the current state. Correct principle. Not a PAL, it's PLE.
Yeah.
Struggle with
It's not your friend.
I don't know. And I was not always, well, actually, I was sent to the principal's office and just because usually they were having technology issues and they needed my help for something in the office. But that goes back 30, 40 years now. That's, yeah. It wasn't for anything else, actually. It was just more, okay, Bill, I need your help. Yeah, that shows me how much of a data and technology nerd I've been in my entire life. There you go. Okay, so as we're going back here, awesome. Is there anything else on potential solutions we want to add here before we move on to some of the outcomes? So outcomes. Of course, on outcomes, we know cost is going to be part of this. That's just how that works, right?
Knowledge of inventory.
What's that?
I said knowledge of their inventory, knowledge of what they actually have, not just cost, including cost. Yeah.
Insight of current clarity. State and gap, right?
Right. And gap.
Yeah, a little bit for the potential solutions, but we see this and say, okay, here's good that duration. I'll put a time. Go ahead.
Is this where we're proposing the solutions and where we want to get to when you say outcomes?
Yeah. So you have your potential solutions. You go through the technology options in there, et cetera, and maybe you have a business case from each one of your vendors as an example, right? I'll give an example. So Flexera, I used to be part of the business case team. They still have it. So if you're looking at Flexera whatsoever and you're ready to buy it and you're struggling internally, ask them for their business case team. They have an entire team to do that. They have ROI tools, et cetera. Just ask them, right? That's free of charge. They're going to try to charge us like, no, if you want me to buy your tool, do this. ServiceNow has the same thing, right? Some of the other solutions, they do hit and miss. But those two, I'll call it the gorillas, and I'll just call them out. They have teams that actually help you in this area. And they're there to work with your model and how you're doing the business, as well as what your slides need to be. They're going to say, well, you have to use ours. It's like, I'll use yours to start, but I need to make sure I align with where my management wants these to go. And trust me, one business case I remember extensively took me 6 to 8 weeks to complete. It's not because of communication delays either. I was on the phone with this guy every day, and this was the assistant to the CIO. Yeah, assistant to CIO. And he says, this is how she wants to see the diagrams. I'll just say I had some education how to do charts within PowerPoint and Excel even more, how that works. But that's how this process works. That's part of rolling up the sleeves. And because when you do it in the outcome, it's like, then you get to realize the communication layer that happens. And all of a sudden, I mean, it just gets me excited thinking about it, because when you start doing that, then you realize you're getting educated as you're doing this. You're trying to educate them, but you're getting educated how to communicate to them. And that's huge, right? Okay. Clarity, gap to complete, timeline, I'll say tools, again, some of the same.
Yeah.
This is kind of a little bit like one pagers is what you're looking at on some of this. More than I do. Microsoft's trying to take over, but that's okay. Approach. That could also, where did you put approach and outcomes or potential solutions? Where would you guys put it?
I think it kind of has to be in both, because your approach early is going to be different than how you get to things later, right? It goes back to adaptability, right?
You approach and adaptability.
And there's something else that I don't want to take us off.
Go for it.
But something else to think about. We're talking about a business case. And you were just talking about learning how the company wants to communicate, right? One of the things that there might be a set format for the organization may have a set format for this business case.
Oh, absolutely, they all do.
Right. So we're talking about the key pieces here, but let's not staying with adaptability. Let's make sure that we understand that we kind of that we're probably going to have to adapt to what the organization uses, how that management, how that leader wants to be communicated to, and how they see it, right? And it's not that we can't tweak it a little bit here and there, right? But what we don't want to do is we don't want to alienate anybody by having it in the wrong format to be from the get-go. That's kind of the wrong direction to be starting in.
Well, so on that point, right, and I had to learn that the hard way, because it's like, oh, when I started business cases, oh, here's the model, here's the slides, here's the communication, how to do it, point, you're done in 4 hours, out the door. The furthest from the truth. 4 hours is that initial discussion, because that's all the time you're going to get typically, and typically that's a stretch, right? They're going to typically say, you do it 2 hours. I said, I can't do it. So, but back to your point of the communication and adaptability, because the business case and all the business cases I did for FlexEra, again, it was about 2.5 years. Not one was identical to another. Not one. Because of exactly what Patrick just talked about.
Yep.
When you think about the bigger picture, how they align, how they talked about that cultural alignment, as well as the integration at a point, you're trying to make sure you're working with that customer is key. You have to work with that. And if you're internally, figure out how to work with your executives, because you're actually, when you find out you can talk executive chat and the executive can talk to you, that's all they're looking for. They're not trying to be above you. And they're not trying to be on a pedestal. They're human just like you. But keep in mind, they have very little time for all the intricate details that you're going through. And that's why you have a job.
Yeah.
And that's important, right? Deanna, you've been through that. Patrick, you've been through that. Do you guys want to talk more on that? Because this is a critical point. This is a really good point.
If there were no pain points, we wouldn't be there. They wouldn't need us to help them realign, because they would already have that self-communication. Some companies don't know that they're having a problem until someone talks to them.
Yep, absolutely. We'll get back to sharing in a second. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Go for it.
I think that's a big point, right? Because, and it's nothing about the leaders directly above us all the way to the top, right? Organizations have a chain of command, so to speak, for a purpose, right? So when you get, and this has happened with me, I sit down, I'm having a discussion with, maybe they bring in a new C-level person, right? And through the introductory phase, right, here we are, we're sitting down having a conversation. There might be a misunderstanding, and it could happen 6 months later after everybody's level set and you're starting to get to that person's getting to a point where they're rolling in. There still might be a miscommunication there, right? There still could be something that there's a disconnect between your direct leadership and what's going up the chain, right? So we have to be a little bit careful on how we communicate this at all times, but at the same time, remaining factual, right? Because the last thing I want is anybody getting blindsided in this space, right? Our job is to mitigate being blindsided and making sure that we have all the information out there. So, if there's a gap or a misunderstanding, part of that is as the asset managers clearing some of that up, but at the same time, doing it in a tactful way where, hey, this is where we're at, but here's the plan, right? And things change. My point to this is that the communication piece is critical throughout all of this, because you just don't know what else is being said or what wasn't said, maybe even more importantly.
One other company I was at, they kept having turnover of the manager in charge of networking and Netgear. So every year and a half, they'd get a new direction. And every year and a half, when I finally went back to the second or third storage room, for the last 4 managers, we had all that equipment, because they buy the equipment. We'd get a new manager. Oh, no, well, I don't want to use that equipment. I want to use this equipment instead. I was flabbergasted when I finally went into the other back rooms that they had.
Well, and I think, for this business case, right, we're talking about the front end of the process, right? I think there's an assumption with this business case that we're talking about. leadership is stable. We're coming in and trying to build this program. But to your point, Deanna, as leadership changes, that we need to have a business case sitting there prepared, because because with every change with every person who changes comes some change.
Yes.
Right? Priorities change, outlook, need, I'll say respect for the program changes, right? So, this business case, this gets us rolling, but we need to, much like process, right? Because process is always changing as well. We have to adapt to the organization. The business case, as we continue the program, that may have to be changed and reconsidered as well, just simply to keep up with the times and to keep up with that new leadership. Because I know every single leader that I've gone through, and I've been through organizations where I've gone through a lot of change in a short amount of time, we have to be prepared to talk to it. And maybe we call that sales. Bill, maybe you can do a session on just your pre-sales so that so people can learn how to adapt that quickly. But this piece that we're talking about right here is critical, because this gets the ball rolling for the program. It sets us on a path, but we also have to understand that we may need to bring this back up in the middle of it because something might change. And this can serve as a reference point.
No, and that's a great point. And that's something I actually did with my summit, because I do an ITAM summit every year. And within that, we actually talked about exactly that point: is how do executives expect to see the ongoing progress of this? How do they want to be communicated to, right? That's something from a communication alignment and type and style that you want to make sure you're collaborating as well with your executive sponsor, because as well as stakeholders, but typically it's driven by the stakeholder, because your communication type, what I've learned with the business cases is you have some people are numbers, you have some people are looking at pains, you have some people are technical, you have other people are not, right? You have other people that their focus is all over the place. They want to make a decision in if you can't get your point across in 5 minutes, you're out the door, even though it's a 15-minute meeting, right? And you have to make sure you're aligned to that. And how do you do that? Simple. It's really, really simple. It's really simple. And anybody want to guess how you fix that problem? It's easier. Don't overthink it. Don't overthink it. How do you fix that problem? Deanna, Patrick, you want to add in? Go ahead. Throw some ideas out there.
Throw it out there again, Bill. I'm sorry. I got redirected on something. I'm getting hit up about something else.
We all do it. But the whole idea, hey, exactly. That's my case in point. Executives do the same thing, right?
Yep.
If you're struggling to figure out the communication style and the type of your executives, or how do you do the business case, how do you get the answer? How do you know what to do? Who do you talk to? That's my core question. How do you determine what that is?
Looking at this outcome, sorry, Deanna, real quick. Looking at this outcome, I think we need to put something in here, if that's what communication type is. But we need to define the leadership communication approach. That might be something else that we want to come out of this. Defining how leadership wants us to communicate with them. Not only our direct leadership, but how is this going to get up to the top, right? We know that senior C-level folks got a lot on their plates. We got about 5-10 minutes. We've got 1, maybe 2 pages, right? So keeping all this in mind, and I say maybe 2 pages, right?
Yeah.
So
it's true.
So we need to make sure that we understand exactly. We've got to get to the point here, just the facts. Bing, boom, 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 boom. Nothing, you can have 4 other pages behind the scenes or 5 other pages of support, and I don't want to call it fluff, but here's the page we're going to focus on for this conversation. In this attachment, there are 5 other pages that help explain it. Take a look. Let me know what you need. So understanding from one of the outcomes of this has to be, how do you want us to communicate this and keep everybody in and maybe it's required that we break it down by level too. Hard to say.
Well, it's going to vary, but Deanna, before I chime in, do you want to add any more to that?
I just want to answer Robert's question. Goes, were they checking their plan and how often? Management had changed so often. By the time we got there, their old roadmap wasn't valid. So when we put in their new roadmap, which was valid, it showed all the gaps between which managements weren't there. And of course, the president makes the final decisions, wasn't in our building, which, doesn't really visit our building very often. So the plan we had laid out was far stronger than we had seen of any other roadmap. So the map wasn't that good to begin with.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's important to have that roadmap. I understand, provide that maturity, say where it's going to come. Let me go back to the leadership communication style, the typing style, back to the simple way to have the answer to that solution. This also goes with the business case. Ask. I say, who'd ask? Depending upon the size of the organization, you might ask your sponsor directly. Just like, okay, we've got a business case. You've probably gone through something like this before, but how do I do it? What's an example I can start from, right? You can also ask peers to say, okay, you've worked with this executive before. Maybe it's the CIO and you're really part of a large organization. Say, can you give me some insights on how I want to move forward, right? Literally ask the question. Yeah. It's like, well, that's hard. You know where it's hard? Up here.
Yep.
Just say it.
Right? Well, and another source of those answers could be your PMO. Your project management office is in that business, right? So go over and talk to the PMO lead, whomever it might be, some project manager. They're going to have some insight as well, especially if you've got someone who's specific to IT, who only does IT. They're going to know exactly how the individuals want to communicate.
Absolutely. In the core crux is ask people who have been here before, right? I was giving an example with a really large business case I was working with that literally took 2 months. She didn't have time to talk to me. And I sat down with her person. She says, Bill, I need X, Y, and Z. Here it is. Here's my guy who helps me with all this. That's totally what he'll do. And he will help you all the time. And if you need to bring me up for updates, please include me. I just don't have time for all the minutia behind it. She didn't say exactly that, but you kind of get the point. I got the point, right? And so he's going to help you and make sure we make it happen. Literally to the point that literally 2 months, I went back in front of her, put it on her place. She says, oh my God, this is awesome. This is exactly what I needed. This will help me sell it internally. I did say that. I'm selling it to her. She now has to sell it internally. And she was an executive CIO. And she says, okay, I'm good. Checkbox, done. Alignment's there. Make it happen.
Yep.
That was kind of the crux behind that. But yeah, that communication style, how you're communicating, make sure you're aligned. You don't always get the extra, I'll say, personalized service like what we had. But when you're selling something really big and your executives and your sponsors big time into it, that's technical talk right here in Tennessee, big time, is they're going to help you. They want to help you because you're helping them. Yeah. Keep that in mind. Okay, so we're down to the last 4 minutes. Of course, this always flies with us, doesn't it? It's amazing how this goes.
Every time.
Let's do a little bit of a recap. So we threw kind of the agenda together for our current state, options, outcomes, program costs, things like that, some recommendations and next steps. Talk about the current state, talk about the prioritization, et cetera. I even threw guiding principles down here because I think Robert mentioned that a little bit ago. So I have been putting in here as well. So as I've been thinking, all the conversations, and trust me, I've got 3 screens right here. So it's rather interesting doing this. So you see me go off to the side. It's not that I'm ignoring the camera right in front of me. But these are all core points. You might reorder them to how they come in the flow for you. They're not always in this order. That's okay. The initiative is how it puts to you, but these are all key points to look at. The potential solutions, again, lots of stuff to work through. And somehow you're going to work on putting these together, and you're going to work with peers. So we talked about that as well, right? Work with the peers, the communication style, how you're going to look at the business case, how it's going to come together. But these are all key components behind it. Because here's what's going to happen. When you get this together into solutions, the executive's like, oh, cool, I like it. You've got maybe You just gain their interest, which is great. Now you have to be prepared with your backup slides. They could go to any of these. Depends on what their interest is, what they just came out of a meeting with, what they're going into the meeting with. Maybe they're going to talk with stakeholders and shareholders in a few minutes and say, oh my gosh, we know we have some audit risk, X, Y, and Z. They're going to start digging into this. That's an awesome thing. But you need to be prepared for that discussion. Again, it's very intimidating. It's not to be adversarial. It's actually just the opposite. You got that buy-in, right? And being coached on this helps you as well to put it into place. But I'll also say something else. You may be putting this together for someone else to present it to the executive, not you. So you're educating someone else, and they're not going to know the details. They might even invite you to the meeting. If you do, take it. Just be quiet. Go to it, because that's one of the best meetings to ever go to. Honestly, you learn a lot, right? But you put that in place. But when you think about how we look at even the outcome, this is what they're looking for. And you may put this to your leadership's going to present to management. And they'll come back and say, okay, here's our solution. I need you to bow on it, tighten it up for just this one solution. This is what we're going to push up, and you can come to the meeting. Again, you may or may not be invited to the meeting, but by you, this is your initiative. You being that, I'll say, the supporting character is huge, right? So as we get to the last few minutes, we have outcomes, a lot of key pieces. There might be something you need to add into this. Great. You're going to find that as you work through your discussion, validate it, et cetera, because we didn't even hit the recommendations and next steps on that part. Yeah, cost in there a little bit. So the recommendation where we usually go with that is, here's the recommendation from your perspective. And give them usually 1, 2, 3, or maybe just 2 different options. Give them something to select from. That's what the executives are looking for. And then the next steps, just say, here's where I'm going right now. Here's where I need you to make a decision, and we're done.
Maybe decisions might be something you want to add in here.
And
Glad you said that.
Got it. No, that's good. Good. I know there's a lot of other chatter happening on the side. I've not been able to keep my eyes on all that.
Yeah, there's a lot going on out there,
which is awesome. But now we kind of see what's involved, right? As we wrap up, I know we're at the top of the hour, so let's go for a few more minutes. I appreciate all the dialogue. If you have to leave, I totally get it. But Deanna and Patrick, is there any more you want to add to here as we wrap this up? Because I think we're in a place where we can say we've got the outline defined, so to allow everyone to go that next step.
Yeah, I think it's in a pretty good spot. I think it was a great session. Needed. I think it's important. You know, not everybody's been faced with it, and yet, because everybody will face it. It's coming. You know, and for someone like myself, right, I think it's important that we revisit this. You know, I've written plenty of business case. You know, I've written plenty of these. So when we start talking about those and putting them in place, I think it's always good to reevaluate how you do it, get another look at it. So this was great for me, both throwing ideas out there and using what I've done, as well as picking up some new stuff here and ideas on how to make it better. So appreciate it. Great to be a part of it.
Yep.
Deanna, did you want to add any more? Yeah.
I'm pretty comfortable with what we're talking about. But the largest thing, which some people may not understand, is the amount of lift needed to do some of these. It's not really easy. It's not a little piece of paper. Oh, I checked this off.
That's a great point.
You know how hard it was for me to get you to let me to check this off. Those things aren't communicated as to what we step into.
Yep.
That's a great point. And some of those communications, let me add to that and go back again to the communication style. That's not something you put in black and white.
No.
It's something you verbalize. You have to learn how to communicate, and it has to come out of the mouth. I'm just going to be quick. It's got to come out of the mouth. Additive. That's part of your story. It's like, it took me, because they're going to ask you, how long did it take you? Some will, some won't. It's like, it took me 6 weeks. They're going to ask why.
Yeah.
Well, don't get into say, okay, some had a disagreement or anything like that, but more just say it took time for people to embrace it.
Yeah.
And they're going to ask them details. It depends on the executive, right? Or the sponsor or even your peers, because they want to see, okay, is there a roadblock they want to help you with? It's not that you did anything wrong. Actually, anything they were going to help you succeed.
Well,
go ahead.
Go ahead, Bill. No, I'm sorry I cut you off, but they might not know about what's going on in their environment, right?
Exactly.
They're up here, so you might be bringing them new news, right? It might. I hate to say this, but you're being brought in to do a specific job. If there's someone out there who's not buying into it,
Yes.
It's important to know that we faced, as we were going through our processes, we faced some challenges. And it might be enlightening to that leader to say, "Oh, wait a minute, maybe I have to do something better in the organization to drive the importance of this capability." So,
well, it's that, or actually go back to the initiatives. If they already have that key initiative and they realize that ITAM or SAM or even CMDB can help them with their initiative, you just got to include with their initiative. And it's like, okay, so it's going to cost me an extra $100K. Fine. It was already a $3 million deal. $100K, it doesn't, I've got to get a little bit of buy-in from the board or somebody like that. But that's a nit compared to the overall pain I have to deal with if this doesn't work.
Right.
I know there was a cost savings mentioned earlier. So put that. Also identify where you're going to see fluency. Again, back to the alignment. Everyone has different ways how they look at alignment. Just get that feedback and insight. But I hope this has been fruitful for everybody. Again, I did this on purpose because this is a topic we talk about all the time, but we don't know how to execute. And I don't think I've ever seen anybody do anything kind of like the way we just did it. I mean, right in business case, et cetera, it's kind of scripted, but you have to be prepared for the unscripted approach, what unscripted details are. And that's why I wanted to really come to this in today's juncture on that. So hopefully this has been helpful. Really appreciate that. Look for tomorrow. You guys are welcome to join me if you want to. Tomorrow's about getting our message across the first time.
We're both laughing.
Yeah,
I should have been on mute right there. My bad.
Yeah.
As you can see, we have a lot of fun. But my point is, here's what I've learned. Patrick, you brought up, okay, what have I learned with my own skills? This is actually a six bullet approach that I've worked with. If you guys want to help contribute, absolutely. Well, that's the topic for tomorrow. So look for that being posted. I've not had a chance. I've got a lot of topics for like the next 10 weeks because you guys keep bringing these topics in. And I'm hoping you're enjoying it because I'm having a blast talking to you and allowing to educate. And again, and if you see or know friends that want to do this, push it on LinkedIn. Say, my guys, you've enjoyed this, and I've had some great feedback from it already. Please listen to this because this is going to help you go that next step. Because I want everyone to enjoy what they're doing for 30 years like I have. You're going to have a little bit of war wounds and along the way. Yeah, exactly. It could be hopefully no recollection. But being able to say, okay, how do you work that next step? That's the whole idea. I want you to enjoy that. So thanks again for everything, guys. Let's wrap it up for today. And I will see you again tomorrow. Look for the invite coming very soon and look for it posted on my LinkedIn. So it's coming in a moment.
Have a great day, everyone.